edge defenders are arguably the most important and the most impactful defensive position, because if you have a dominant guy rushing off the edge, consistently getting pressure against the opposing quarterback, you can win the game. And the importance of the position is reflected in how early edge defenders are drafted, how much edge defenders are paid, which in the modern NFL is eye-watering amounts. But who are the best edge rushers in the NFL going into 2025? Well, I'm going to rank the top 60 guys at the position and put them into tiers which you can see on the screen. Before I explain the tiers, make sure you subscribe for more off-season content. Make sure you like the video to push it out to more content-starved NFL fans. And feel free to like a comment. Do you agree? Do you disagree with where I rank these guys? Let me know everything down below in the comments. So the first tier that we have is the elite tier. These are the best pass rushers from the edge position in the NFL. They can single-handedly take over a game. If offenses don't specifically game plan for these guys, they are going to have a bad day, and they're probably going to lose. Then we have the edge 1 tier. These guys are still stars, absolutely great players. Might not be dominating every single snap like those top guys are, but they can still make big plays, and the opposing offense has to keep their eye on them to some degree. Then the next tier down, we have the reliable 1.5s. These aren't quite the guys that you want to be your number one pass rusher. In some teams they might be, but they might be better suited to kind of being the 1B to someone else's 1A, might be better suited to being the Robin to someone else's Batman. And they're not going to dominate, but will still do a good job for you. They're going to get a few pressures a game. They will get a few sacks every season, but definitely a tier below those guys that you really feel good about being your number one pass rusher off the edge. Then we have the edge 2s. These are guys who aren't or shouldn't be the primary rushing threat for the defense, but they're still starting quality. They're a good complementary edge rusher. And then finally, we have the rotational guys. These are not full-time starters. They are depth pieces or better suited to a very specific rotational role and, certain down and distances. And before we really get into the rankings, the context, I'm going to go with the PFF stats here, just so you're all aware. They are going to be different from the ESPN stats. I think the idea of half sacks are really silly just because they can add up to the final amount of sacks on the final scorecard or whatever it is. I think that's absolutely silly. It'd be like splitting receiving yards and passing yards so they add up. It doesn't make any sense to me. So there is going to be some differences. If you're looking at ESPN, they might have less sacks than what I'm saying. And I will be talking more about pressures than sacks. Obviously, sacks are what all edge defenders are after for the most part. We're going to be focusing mostly on the passing game here, by the way, as well. Run defense is also very important, but I think as an edge rusher, what we're looking for primarily is the ability to rush the passer. Now, the reason why I'm looking at pressures over sacks is because pressures are more reliable year on year. The difference between a pressure and a sack could just be the quarterback throwing the ball away far too quickly, right? There might not even be the chance to sack the quarterback. If you're consistently getting pressures, you will eventually consistently get sacks. It's just a more reliable stat. And the other stats I'll be referencing, pass rush win rate and TPS. So pass rush win rate is how often you are beating your man. It doesn't necessarily result in a sack, but over time it will. The higher the pass rush win rate, the better the pass rusher, obviously. And TPS stands for true pass sets. So true pass set is there's no chip help, there's no double team, it's an obvious passing down. It is literally man on man in the most pure pass rushing situation you can imagine. And I will also explain the different pass rushing moves when I get to them as well, so that everyone's understanding what I'm talking about. So the first player we have is Trey Hendrickson, the reigning sack leader in 2024 with 18 sacks. He has been incredibly productive over his career, consistently being a double-digit sack guy. He's fourth in pass rush win rate at 20%. So how's my maths? 1 in 5 reps, he's just winning outright. He's a well-rounded pass rusher. He's good at using speed, power. He's good with his hands. You need to have an edge rusher that's good with their hands to counter the offensive lineman's hands. And he loves a chop move that is literally, as it suggests, when you chop down most often with your inside hand against the offensive lineman's outside hand. The chop move when you're chopping down. And look, he's turning 30. There is definitely, he's at his peak. He's not going to develop anymore, but he definitely has another season of juice in him. In 3 years' time, maybe not, but this year you feel really good about him. Now, he hasn't turned up to OTAs. He's still in that kind of stalemate with the Bengals. But overall, I think he has to go in the edge 1 tier. Is Trey Hendrickson elite? I don't think so. I think he's a really good one. I think you'd obviously want him to be your guy. I think a lot of teams would be looking to snap him up if the relationship between the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson collapses, which would be a nightmare for the Bengals with their defensive line. But I think Trey Hendrickson is very firmly a number one guy, just not an elite one at that. Micah Parsons, though, probably will be in that elite tier. Spoiler alert. He missed time last year and played on a generally pretty bad Cowboys team and a generally pretty bad Cowboys defense. But he still had 14 sacks, which was 4th in the NFL. 70 pressures, that was 7th in the NFL. He had a pass rush win rate of 20.2%. That was 4th in the NFL last year. He still had elite numbers in not really an elite season statistically for just looking at the pure sacks and the pure pressure rate. But the last 2 seasons, he's had 100 plus pressures. He's had a pass rush win rate of 24% in 2023. That is insanely high. That is so high. And at the kind of like a good kind of, we'll say the average for a starter in the NFL is probably around like 12%, kind of what you're looking for, 12, 14% roughly. Don't quote me on that exactly, but just to kind of contextualize how high 24% is. Like, that is a crazy high number. He's just an elite pass rusher. Fundamentally, he's a primary speed guy. So when you want that's what it suggests, that they have the speed off the edge to run around the offensive tackle, basically. But what works really well for Parsons, and what you have to applaud the Cowboys in letting him do, is he loves an inside counter. An inside counter is when the edge rusher will try and fake round the outside, the offensive lineman will overset to the outside, opening up a gap on the inside, and Micah Parsons will run on the inside in between the guard and the tackle, and that's called an inside counter. Now, you can do that because the offensive tackle is so scared about speed around the edge that they're basically overcompensating, oversetting to stop that speed. And a lot of the times, a lot of NFL teams will not want guys to do that because it opens up an escape route either for the quarterback or for the running back. They can go then around the outside of the tackle when the edge rusher is going on the inside. So what a lot of NFL defenses want is they want their guy to run through their gap come hell or high water to be sound against the run. And what's great about Parsons and the Cowboys, they let Parsons do what he wants. And that's how he gets his production. Not because he's not good. He's absolutely fantastic. His athleticism, his speed, off the charts, but it's allowing him to use that inside counter. The offensive tackles have to account for both the inside gap and their outside gap. And that just has them in a bind at any given time. He's not actually that adept at using different pass rush moves. I'll talk about some guys that are. Parsons is not. But when you're as athletic, you give him two-way goes. He's got the speed. He's got the free reign to do what he wants. He puts up elite numbers, and he is an elite pass rusher. So, yeah, he plays in a kind of a beneficial system to him, but he makes it work. Odafe Oweh, another Penn State pass rusher with a lot of potential. Definitely not Micah Parsons, though. He is kind of good, not great, is how I see Oweh. Got a lot of potential, kind of improving year on year, but still quite a long way away from realizing what we kind of would hope when we saw that kind of athletic profile coming out of Penn State. He did have 55 pressures last year. That was 25th. Did have a pass rush win rate of 13.6%, which was 33rd. As I said, that's kind of 12, 14 range is kind of the average, I would say. And he hit 11 sacks last year. But that kind of seems to be an anomaly. He's good with his speed. He's got good bend. When you say bend, that is literally, can you bend under basically the offensive tackle? That's what we refer to when we talk about bend. And he's got some moves that he can show as well. He's bulked up this offseason. There's no guarantee that the Ravens are going to extend him. So I think for Oweh, at the moment, I think he's got a ceiling to be a reliable 1.5. Maybe an edge 2. No, I think he's a high edge 2. I think he's a good edge 2. Now, AJ Epinesa, he's good, but he's a pure rotational guy for the Bills. The Bills have quite a big stable of pass rushers that they like to rotate through. And Epinesa, I think it's fair to say, is he's just a purely rotational guy. Princey Emmanuel, I do have rookies on this list, by the way, guys. And there is going to be projection with those rookies. We have we've never seen them play football. We've seen them play in college. That's the whole point. So there's a projection here, obviously, but that's what we're going to work with. Now, Princey Emmanuel, the new Panthers rookie, he's got a great first step, really quick and explosive. He's got this cross chop move where literally the defensive lineman will both cross with one arm and then chop with the outside arm. Basically, like you set them up inside. It's almost like you almost include it with like a Euro step. So you run right at him, you fake inside, jump back outside. It's called a cross chop. You see like TJ Watt absolutely obliterates people with it. It's a fantastic pass rush move. And Emmanuel's cross chop move looks pretty good. And he's kind of been milking that for 2 years in college, basically being quick, explosive, having a decent cross chop move. And he's a nice get in the third round. He brings some juice to the Panthers pass rush. He is a bit one-dimensional, though, and I think that he's one of those edge rushers that has done really well in college, but unless he kind of develops and adds something else to his pass rush bag, he's going to probably struggle a bit in the NFL against high-quality offensive linemen. So for now, we'll put him as he will be an edge 2 for the Panthers. He'll be a bottom of the edge 2 tier, I think. Now, Shamar Stewart, another holdout for the rookies. And you know what? Fair play. The Bengals, the absolute sham of an organization with both how they're treating Trey Hendrickson, Shamar Stewart. They're terrible. Pay Shamar Stewart. He has bonkers physical tools. 10 RAS, that's relative athletic score. That grades players relative to their positions on how well they test at the combine, and it is 10 out of 10. He is one of the most athletic players we've ever seen in the combine. 34-inch arms, explosive, quick, strong. He doesn't have that mental aspect part of the game, though. James Foster on Twitter, he had a fantastic draft page, and his line about Shamar Stewart was the best one I could come up, that I've seen, which was that Shamar Stewart is like if you built a pass rusher in a lab but didn't teach them how to pass rush. Like, he has all the tools but none of the mental aspect of the game at all, really. He doesn't have a pass rush plan, which is really important. It's not just blindly doing stuff that works. It's about setting up offensive linemen, kind of going for one move 5 times in a row and then having a counter off that. Maybe you want to have speed around the edge, then you have an inside counter to jump inside when the offensive lineman oversets. So for Shamar Stewart, he doesn't have that mental side of his game. And he only had highs of 2 sacks in any given season. 12.6% pass rush win rate is fine, but definitely not one that you usually see go in the first round. And he will be the number 2 opposite Trey Hendrickson, hopefully, if Hendrickson stays. If he doesn't, I think the Bengals are in serious trouble because Shamar Stewart is not going to be the guy that you can rely on, I don't think. So I'm going to put him in the edge 2, and I kind of have to put him ahead of Prince Emmanuel just because of the physical tools. But I think Prince Emmanuel at least has a bit more of a pass rush plan about him. So for now, Bengals fans might not like that. Let me know what you think. Do you agree or disagree with Shamar Stewart in the edge 2s? Abdul Carter, another rookie. Micah Parsons light is not hyperbole for this guy. Again, Penn State converted linebacker. Explosive, quick, uber athletic. Wears number 11 at Penn State. The shoe fits. It is, like I said, it's not just this crazy, like, Shadur Sanders is Joe Burrow because they are, an accurate quarterback that can't run. That's a joke. Abdul Carter is genuinely like Micah Parsons. Will he be as good? I don't know. But I think the way they project and play the game is eerily similar, genuinely. And it's not just about the college, just the college kind of adds to it even further. He has such a high motor, a great bag of pass rush moves. His ghost move, so ghost move is when the offensive tackle will go to punch the edge rusher, and they'll literally kind of duck under the punch like a ghost. They're trying to not be touched almost. It's like you're playing tag with your friends. You're trying to dodge them like that. That's what a ghost move is. And his ghost move is brilliant. The spin move is good. He's got an inside counter like Micah Parsons. He's flashed a bit of speed to power. That's when you threaten the speed around the edge and then go straight through the offensive lineman's chest. Very effective because they're expecting speed and you suddenly try and knock them off their feet. And his tape versus Maryland is elite. It's kind of what you saw from Myles Garrett that one year where he's standing up over the center and he's Euro stepping. That was what Micah Parsons was doing. He was rushing not just from the edge, but all over the defensive line. And that kind of dominance, you cannot teach. And it's because of the athletic traits. He had a 22.3% pass rush win rate. That was 4th in college football. He was just so damn good. I'm expecting big, big things. I think putting him in the elite tier now is with the other guys that are going to be in there is a bit rich for my blood. So I'm going to put him at edge 1, but I think he's going to be really high on that edge 1. And like I said, there's going to be projection and he's not going to hit the ground running in 2025. Most likely edge rushers don't tend to, but Abdul Carter is going to be really damn good, guys. TJ Watt, Steelers fans, brace yourself for this. Just hear me out first before you start typing. So in 2024, he had a 13.3% pass rush win rate. That was 38th in the NFL. He had 16% true pass set win rate. So that's, pure, no chip, just man on man. Can you beat them? 16%. That was 48th in the NFL. ESPN had his pressure rate. So to give you a different statistic, if you don't trust PFF, which I know a lot of people don't, so I'll give you the ESPN number. ESPN had him at a 19% pressure rate. That was 12th behind players like Chop Robinson. he only had 57 pressures. And I say only because relative to TJ Watt's expectations in his history, that's not that high. 2023, he had a 16.9% pass rush win rate. That was 16th. He had a 20% true pass set win rate. That was 21st. He was 8th in pressures, but first in sacks. And I think that is really why the discussion around TJ Watt is so skewed, I would say, because if you look at the sack numbers, you see a guy that is really productive and really dominant. And he is productive and he can be dominant. But I think the sack totals are skewing people's true understanding of how TJ Watt is playing at the moment, really. He is, clearly really good. At one time, he absolutely was an elite pass rusher. He's one of the best speed rushers I've ever seen. Like I said, that ghost move, unbelievable. He can literally be untouchable when he wants to be, right? Back in his heyday. He had a cross chop, which was elite as well. Again, that 2-arm cross and the chop that we pairs it with the Euro set, where basically TJ Watt will, out of his inside foot, will take a ginormous step, kind of almost jump behind the offensive tackle in one kind of fell swoop, just literally jump, and he just teleports 2 yards into the backfield, and it's some of the best pass rushing tape I've ever seen. He was elite. 2021, he won defensive rookie of the year, defensive player of the year, 4-time All-Pro. He has the production, he has the tape. He's an arguable Hall of Fame candidate, but I don't think he's elite anymore. And I think that's pretty clear from how I started this conversation. I don't think he's elite anymore. I think what TJ Watt does have, though, is the clutch factor. He knows when to turn up in really big games. He will finish games with a strip sack that he recovers. I think that's kind of his USP at this point. But I don't think statistically and production-wise, putting the sacks aside, which I know some people are going to be up in arms that I'm putting aside like the most important pass rush metric. I don't think sacks are the most important pass rush metric. They're the most impactful at the end of the day, but evaluating single player success, they're not. And I don't think he's elite anymore. Yes, he does get chipped basically every other play. They love throwing running backs at him to drop their shoulder. That's what a chip is when a running back comes out and just, throws a shoulder. It kind of helps the offensive lineman buy a bit more time. But so do the other elite guys. So look, this is going to hurt Steelers fans. I'll put him, for legacy's sake, I'll put him ahead of Abdul Carter. If this was 1 year later, if this was after Abdul Carter's rookie year, I think it would be a different story. I think he's an edge one. I don't think he's elite anymore. And Steelers fans, I want to hear it in the comments, but be kind to me. Will Anderson. I infamously thought the trade between for the Texans to trade back up for Will Anderson was a bad trade. I think I gave it an F. He is a great pass rusher. He is 24th percentile in weight, 253 pounds, but he punches well above that. He's one of the better power rushers in the NFL. And by power, I mean literally what it says, that you're trying to win with power. You're trying to run through the offensive tackle rather than trying to run around them, in not so many words. He is a really good power rusher. He uses his speed really well. He's always getting low under the offensive lineman's chest. He's always great at controlling their elbows, which is how they kind of drive them up or push them aside. And Will Anderson just understands that leverage battle as a smaller edge rusher. And he's, opts consistently for the bull rush. He wins often with it. He had 60 pressures and 16 sacks in 2024, 17.9% pass rush win rate, 21% on true pass set. So he won defensive rookie of the year in 2023. He's not elite, and I don't think he ever will be elite if he doesn't expand on what you've seen already. But I think he is a reliable edge one. And I think for now, I wouldn't have him ahead of TJ Watt for next year. But I think they're really close. Donovan Ezaraku, he was my 24th ranked prospect in the draft. I think he's limited if you expect him to be your number one. I think you need your number one pass rusher to have a power aspect to their game, really. But he does have a really deep bag of pass rush moves. He just understands how to play the pass rush position from the edge, basically. He has, speed to power, works with his 34-inch arms. He's got a ghost move. He's got a fantastic cross-chop move, which I've seen him win with multiple times a game. His inside move is strong. He started to introduce a spin move as well later in the season. He is your classic case of kind of not the best athlete, relatively speaking, and not that strong, but everything else is a tick, tick, tick to his game. So I think he's going to be a reliable 1.5 because he's going to be with Micah Parsons. And maybe he'd be better in the edge 2 tier, but I think I'm expecting big things from Donovan Ezeraku, and he just understands, the nuance of rushing the passer. It's head fakes, it's tempo changes, it's setting the offensive tackle up and then countering off the back of that. I really like him, but I think I was worried about him not having a power profile. Being the 2 behind Parsons, he's going to shine. Jonathan Cooper, a very effective and impactful power rusher, loves speed to power. Again, when he threatens with speed out on the outside and then try and run through the offensive lineman. And a bull rush, which is quite simple. You literally just straight out the gate, run straight through them. No kind of bells and whistles, no faking with anything. You just run right through them and try and win that way. And he's done that since college. He's a very no-nonsense pass rusher, why he's hugely outperformed his 7th round draft position and become a good NFL pass rusher. 64 pressures, 13 sacks. I think he's an effective cog in an overall great defense. And I think realistically, he is a 1.5. I'll put him ahead of Donovan Ezeraku though. But I think he is at his core, a 1.5. And I think he's kind of not being covered for, but the rest of the defense being great definitely helps him out. If you've got guys in coverage, quarterbacks have to hold on to the ball for longer. Players like Jonathan Cooper get to rush the passer for that extra half second, which helps them. So Darius Smith, currently a free agent. I think he will sign with someone though. Historically been a great pass rusher, consistently been a double-digit sack guy. He's turning 33, he's getting on a bit, but he was last year 8th in pass rush win rate at 18.4%, and then 12th in total pressures. He's still got something to give. Very experienced, well-rounded pass rusher, win with speed, power. He might have lost a step or two with that age. He's not going to get, you're not going to get 18 sacks out of him. But I think even now, I think he's a reliable 1.5, maybe a high 2. But I think for one more season, we'll give him the reliable 1.5. Aiden Hutchinson, I cannot wait to talk about this guy. Steelers fans might have alienated you. Lions fans, welcome in. Okay, we can bond about Hutchinson. We were robbed of potentially an all-time edge rusher season last year. It breaks my heart when I think about it. He had 45 pressures and 8 sacks in just 5 games. In week 1 against the Rams, 11 pressures, 1 sack. Week 2 against the Bucks, 6 pressures, 5 sacks. Week 3 against the Cardinals, 8 pressures, 1 sack. Week 4 against the Seahawks, 15 pressures. That is outrageous. Week 6 against the Cowboys, 5 pressures, 1 sack. He had a pass rush win rate, yes, through a lower sample size, but nevertheless, he had a pass rush win rate of 38.3%. That is wild, guys. That is absolutely wild. Like I said, the average, what you're looking for is something around 12 to 14. To be at 38.3% blows my mind. And he had a true pass set win rate of 49.5%. Basically, if you don't help out the offensive lineman who is trying to block Aiden Hutchinson, he's winning every other time. That's wild. The NFL is a numbers game, right? Football is a numbers game. If you have to dedicate 2 people to one guy, that's going to free up someone somewhere else. So not only does Hutchinson is a beast, right, in his own right, but he also is springing up other defenders along the defensive line to make plays. It's just insane stats. I think he's got the best spin move in the NFL. He lines up at a wide 9 position. Wide 9 is when you line up really far outside the offensive tackle. The benefit is you have a full head of steam. You can run right out, and there's a really long kind of, think of it like a runway. You can just build up speed. Obviously, the flip side is that it takes longer for you to get there. So it's there's a give and take there. But he lines up at that wide 9 position, and he just sets up every move perfectly. It's like how wide receivers are taught that everything is a fade until it's not. It's like Hutchinson is just, everything is a bull rush until it isn't. He's running right at the offensive tackle. He can then spin move off the back of it. He can run around the outside. He can rip literally with his inside arm, can rip against the offensive tackle. He's got inside counters, great with his hands. He was literally terrorizing offensive linemen. They would go to bed at night and they would have nightmares of Aiden Hutchinson. And like I said, that spin move, he sets it up so nicely because he kind of uses his inside arm like a lever. He'll basically put his inside arm out, the offensive lineman will push it, and he uses that to then pivot and spin around on the inside. It's crazy. It's like he's like a physicist. Like a doctor. He's a physicist, just understands that turning point, and he's just victimizing offensive linemen. He's got so many pass rush moves. He's great at using all of them. He's quick. He's athletic. He's got a really interesting kind of athletic profile, really kind of long, not with his arms, but his body. And it's just a hard job for offensive tackles to block this guy. When he comes back healthy, because it's, I say just a leg break, but it's an easier injury to come back healthy from. I'd rather have Hutchinson than Parsons next year. I would. I honestly would. He is so damn good. Rashawn Gary, nice year in 2021. He had 87 pressures, 12 sacks, but he's not really been able to replicate that, unfortunately. 12.2% pass rush win rate. He's good in run defense, which does count for something. Don't get me wrong, that is an important aspect of the position. But like I said, I'm kind of focusing on pass rush here. I just don't think he's a dude. I don't think he's a dude. That's why I wanted the Packers to draft a dude, and I think he's better suited to being an edge too. Danielle Hunter, he is an aging but very impactful pass rusher. 74 pressures, 12 sacks. Last year, that was 6th and 9th respectively. A good pass rush win rate, good true pass set win rate. Definition of a 1.5, I think. Very definition of 1.5. And I'd have him ahead of Jonathan Cooper as well. Kwity Paye, he's a rotational edge rusher. He's good for 6 sacks a season. Can't hate it, but definitely just a rotational guy. George Karlaftis, I think two things can be true at once with George Karlaftis, which is that, first of all, he has massively improved since his rookie year, and it is not just Chris Jones that is an effective pass rusher for Kansas City. But the second thing is that rushing next to Chris Jones is undeniably a very lucrative position to be in. He had 76 pressures last year, 12 sacks. That is more than he had for both categories in 2023. And I think he has shown that he can win in his own right? As his own kind of pass rusher. He's good with speed, good with his hands, he's explosive. I don't think he's an edge 1, though. I don't think he's an edge 1. So we'll put him in a reliable 1.5. Yeah, if you only had Karlaftis, would you feel good about your edge rushers and you didn't have Chris Jones in there for the Chiefs? You'd be wanting more. I think you'd be wanting more. Jalen Walker, another rookie. He might be a bit more of a hybrid player. So there's an interesting aspect to him there, but purely looking at him as an edge kind of guy, he was 38th on my big board. He's really athletic, really explosive, got really strong hands, but 1-year starter, limited playing time for this year. You're banking on traits, not production. And he doesn't have pass rush moves, doesn't have a pass rush plan. I think that we'll put him at edge 2. I think he has the potential to be a lot better than that. But there's also the potential that he's not, to be blunt. Max Crosby, he took a step back in 2024 due to the ankle injury, but from 2021 to 2023, he's been elite. He was averaging 94 pressures and 13 sacks in those 3 years. Unbelievable. He is electric with the speed off the edge. He works the inside counter off that. Great hand fighting, strong footwork, really well-rounded and effective. I think he probably is elite. He's at the back end of it, though. But I think Max Crosby is an elite pass rusher. Tuli Tuipulotu, good against the run, effective as a pass rusher. Not much more than that. I think he's a solid edge, too. I think you'd rather have Gary than Tuipulotu. That's a tricky one. Jared Verse, though. Elite power. And power, what I've learned now from Jared Verse, is the most easily translatable way to win from college to the NFL. NFL pass rushers say that for the most part, the move they use the most is power. Either trying to run through the offensive lineman, trying to maybe fake the speed and then use power, but in some way using power, basically, to overpower the opposing offensive lineman. And Jared Verse has elite power, and he won Defensive Rookie of the Year because of it. He led the league in pressures, 89, wild for a rookie, had a 19.7 pass rush win rate, that was 6th, because of that power. It's the most effective move. As I said, it doesn't rely on timing as much. You don't need to be have that hand-eye coordination to time when the offensive lineman's hands are coming up for you to then have your hands to swipe them away. But if you're strong, you're big, you're consistent, and you can consistently rely on that rather than relying on the timing, really. And Verse is incredibly strong. He is, though, one-dimensional. At the moment, I'm struggling with Verse because I don't know if he's at the back end of edge 1 or really, despite the crazy stats, is he better suited to being a 1.5? Do we need someone else? If it was just Jared Verse, would you feel as good about that? I don't know, man. I think I feel good about him being at the end of edge 1 for now. We'll say that. But there's definitely an argument that could be made about him being a reliable 1.5. And Rams fans might not want to hear it, but I think there is. Maybe I'm being a coward. Maybe I'm being a coward. He's either going to be at the top of 1.5 or the end of edge 1. Let's leave him at the top of 1.5. I think there's a good chance that we could see a step back in production. Is there? But it's power. No, sorry, I'm flip-flopping. We're going to leave him at the end of edge 1. Let me know where you put Jared Verse. Arden Key, he's a rotational guy. I'd have him ahead of Kwity Paye, but he's a rotational guy. Josiah Stewart, another rookie for the Rams. He will be a rotational guy, but I think he's going to produce a lot. And I think he's kind of in a similar position to what he was in Michigan, basically playing along a really strong defensive line and just being able to kind of reap the rewards of being that guy that can come in and just make a play when he needs to. He's a really powerful speed rusher whose role will be limited, but like I said, landing in the perfect spot. I think he at his heart could be an edge too, but we'll put him at the top of rotational for now. Nick Benito, 15 sacks last year. That was third. A really good speed rusher. Works the ghost move off the back of that. Good player and a great defense. I think he's probably also... I prefer him to Jonathan Cooper though. But I think both of them are reliable 1.5s. Really. Broncos fans might not like that. Chop Robinson. He had a slow start to his rookie season, which is why I think now he's kind of being a bit underrated. He started the first 7 weeks with 0 sacks and only 11 pressures. But after that, he was looking good, like really good. He finished the season 7th in pass rush win rate at 18.8%. He is so quick and so athletic, and that matters for that position. He literally, there's a rep against the Bills where he ran past John Dawkins. Didn't even really run around him, just ran past him, if that makes sense. Dawkins hardly got out of his stance to try and block him. And that was after he tripped because he's so quick, really fluid. Unsurprisingly, loves to use the ghost move. A lot of speed rushers do because it's basically like rushing around them, and rather than letting them hit you, you just drop the shoulder and continue going. That's why the speed is often paired with the ghost move. And he's good with power as well. He's explosive. He was definitely reliant on his speed and athleticism in college, and I was worried that wouldn't translate that well to the NFL, where people are faster and more athletic as well. But he showed really great development in the final half, much better with his hands and his footwork. I think we could see a really big breakout from him this year. I think we really could. And I think he'll be an edge 1. I think he will be an edge 1 for Chop Robinson. I'm planting my flag, guys. I think him and Verse are right up there, despite Verse obviously having the better rookie season. Yaya Diaby, very productive as a starter. He was 7th in total pressures with 70, and hopefully he can continue to develop, but I think a lot of his production relies on kind of unblocked pressures or cleanup pressures or sacks, or stunts rather. I think we need to see him take another step, really. I think he's an edge 2 at this point. And I'd kind of take a swing on Jalen Walker as well over Diaby. Jonathan Grenard for the Vikings, a seriously underrated player. He was 2nd in pressures with 84, had 11 sacks. You don't get that by luck. You just don't. He has a really deep bag of pass rush moves, which he can use effectively, but the biggest strength for Grenard is his timing. When I was watching him on tape, his hands were just always exactly where they needed to be to counter the offensive lineman's hands. Often it's really hard to offensive lineman will fake the punch so that the defensive lineman will kind of use their move, and then the lineman will get their hands on him. He's just, it's like, and you kind of need to time it because it's such a quick move for the offensive lineman to punch. It's not something you can really see and react to for the most part. You kind of have to be anticipating it. But it's like Grenard is seeing it in slow motion. He just sees the hands start to move and just moves them, just swats them out of the way. He can render like a 300-pound man inert because he just moved their hands a little bit and their body weight went the other way. And that's what Grenard does so well. And he makes it look really easy when it's definitely anything but. He is still only 28. He will be great this season, was great last year. I'm going to put him ahead of TJ Watt. Steelers fans, at me. Landon Jackson, Bills rookie. Again, the Bills love that deep edge rush rotation. He's going to be effective, I think, in that rotational role. I think he'll be better than Josiah Stewart, but he'll be a rotational pass rusher for the Bills trying to save Joey Bosa. Nolan Smith, this guy's made of tungsten, or something like that, like a really dense material, because there is no way that a 2nd percentile edge rusher, 233 pounds, can just play so much bigger than that. Like, the punch that he packs relative to his size, crazy. He takes on blocks so well. He's super physical for someone that's smaller. He ran through Roger Rosengarten, a big tackle for the Ravens, for a sack last year. He's got a high motor. He's quick. He's deceptively powerful. He makes for a really good pass rusher. I think he is a reliable 1.5. I'll put him there, ahead of Carl Loftus. I'd rather have Nolan Smith than Carl Loftus, but I'd rather have Danielle Hunter. Trayvon Walker, let's have the discussion then. Controversial player. Again, there are multiple truths with Trayvon Walker here. He is a bust, but my take is that players don't bust, picks do. He was objectively, I think, not worth the first overall pick, especially considering that Hutchinson was on the board and how well he's played. But he is not a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. He is powerful and athletic with those long arms of his. You can see how he wins, 56 pressures. You can see those really fantastic flash plays on his tape, but he is a work in progress. He's going into his 4th year. He's definitely kind of overpromised and under-delivered as a prospect with that first overall pick kind of tag to him. But I think he's also overpromised and under-delivered as a player generally with the athletic traits as well. He is, though, still only 24. He's going to be the kind of next Tremaine Edmonds. Tremaine Edmonds is only 24. Made that joke in the last video. But, and there's definitely room for Walker to grow. But with every year that passes, and he's definitely taken those steps, with every year that passes, we're kind of getting less and less likely that he's going to hit that potential that the Jags definitely hoped that he would kind of reach sooner when they were drafting with the first overall pick. Where do realistically, is he a reliable 1.5? I'm going to put him at a high end of edge 2, I think. Because realistically, that's what he is now at the moment. Could he be more than that? Yeah. Will he? I don't know. Jalen Phillips, I think now he's a decent rotational guy, was amazing in 2022, 77 pressures, 10 sacks, but he's not really been that guy since. I think he's kind of a high-end rotational guy. Harold Landry, Patriots massively, massively overpaid for this guy. He is a not great, older pass rusher, so he's got no room to develop. Over 51% of his pressures last year were clean up, so that is, chased down from the backside, unblocked, or someone forces them into Landry's path. He's a one-dimensional speed rusher. And when you're only a speed rusher and nothing else, it's pretty easy for offensive linemen to predict your speed and overcompensate for it. And then you're kind of done. It's not like someone like Micah Parsons who's got insane athleticism and can then jump inside to the B gap and beat you on the inside. Landry's not that guy. You're not that guy, pal. So I think he's I think he's a rotational guy. It's crazy that the Patriots paid as much as they did for him, but I don't even think he's an edge 2, to be perfectly honest with you. I really don't. I'm really not high on Harold Landry at all. Chase Young, talking about kind of players don't bust, picks do. Young obviously hasn't lived up to his draft position by any stretch of the imagination. But quietly, he is starting to look pretty decent, honestly. He, is kind of beginning to put it together. He won, obviously, Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2020, but he had 66 pressures last year. That was 12th, 13.7% pass rush win rate. That's, pretty average for starters. That's fine. But I think Young is all right. Now, obviously, it's hard for him to ever kind of outlive his draft position, which is kind of how everyone is going to view someone like Chase Young. So it's difficult. But I think he's a fine edge 2. And I'd probably put him behind Trayvon Walker. Yeah. Kayvon Thibodeau. I was a certified Kayvon Thibodeau hater. He had this year last year where he had 13 sacks. Great, amazing. This is what I'm talking about, right? 13 sacks. Oh my God, Thibodeau must be good. He had a 6.4% pass rush win rate. That is 101st in the NFL in 2023 among all starters. The 13 sacks that he had were not like real sacks. It was not him beating a man, sacking the quarterback. It was not him avoiding a chip and then beating the tackle. It was someone's unblocked, or it was just murky sacks basically. And I didn't like him as a result. I thought he was hugely overrated. I didn't think he was very good, but to his credit, and I've got to be fair here, he looked better in 2024. He had a 17% pass rush win rate. That's more like it. He looked more powerful. He was better with his hands, better with his timing. I was quite surprised he wasn't traded because obviously the Giants drafted Abdul Carter and they have Brian Burns. But as a I guess on paper, a rotational guy, he's a really good rotational guy, a really good rotational guy. I think might be quite decent. I'd kind of happily put him behind Chase Young as an edge too, which if I saw this last year, I would have called you a liar. DeMarcus Lawrence, 2018 was a long time ago, my guy. He's 33 years old. Rotational. Ahead of Harold Landry, though. Will McDonald, I really liked him coming out of Iowa State. Wasn't everyone's cup of tea with kind of how they used him. They had him like playing head up over the tackle as a guy that probably should have been playing more as a wide nine, kind of like a longer, lankier, lighter edge defender. And he's still a work in progress as a result. I think he kind of lost quite a lot of essential developmental years in college, but has shown really great flashes, shows a spin move that kind of rivals Aiden Hutchinson. Not quite as good, but it is surprisingly effective. He can close ground really well from that wider position. He's great at bending around the edge. I like what I'm seeing from Will McDonald. I think he could be at the back end of a reliable 1.5. Mike Green, the Baltimore Ravens rookie, he's what you're looking for on the field when you're drafting an edge rusher. Explosive, agile, he's a finisher, he's athletic. And yes, he played for Bowling Green. Bowling Green? Is it Bowling Green? Marshall. But there was no drop off in production when he was playing Power 4 competition. He had a spin move against Ohio State, which I would argue was the single best pass rushing move I saw from any rookie on their tape last year. Absolutely crazy. He had 17 sacks, 56 pressures, 20.1% pass rush win rate. Really strong stable of pass rush moves. Has a great inside counter, a killer ghost move. Again, untouchable when he ducks under that offensive lineman's punch. Just knows how to set up tackles and, kind of have one move feed into the other, and it's kind of like a dance for him. Plays with his hair on fire. High school wrestler. Love it. I think he's going to project like an edge one for me for the Ravens, honestly. Yeah, I think that's fair. Khalil Mack, past his prime, right, with the Raiders in 2015, 2016, but he had 88 pressures and 18 sacks in 2023. Like, the old dog still got it. He can still use speed. He's still got an inside counter. He's got something to give. Honestly, he's got something to give. I'd have him there. Yeah, I'd have him ahead of Ezra Rock and ahead of Zadarius Smith. Yeah, I think for one more season, I think he's a reliable 1.5. Might not be much more after that this year, but that's all we're thinking about is 2025. Kyle Van Noy, another player past his prime, but another player who's also got something to give. He was tied 4th in sacks last year at 14. At his age, there is a higher rate of, and in that Ravens defense, there is a lot of kind of stunts and ways that they kind of spring open their pass rushers. But he is still pretty good. I think he's a high edge 2 for me, Kyle Van Noy. Yeah, he's a high edge 2. Myles Garrett, he is the best defensive player in the NFL. Let's just call it what it is. I think he is so big, he is so strong, he is so athletic. He is what you would, if you went to build a bear for pass rushers, Myles Garrett is what you would come out with 10 times out of 10. His muscles have muscles. Like, the way his pads sit on his shoulders, they're like boulders. Like his shoulders are like the size of my head. Like, the guy is just crazy. He moves so quick for a guy that is so strong. He has a 23.1% pass rush win rate in 2024. Offenses know they have to block this guy, or it's over. Even on a team like the Browns, right? Which, to their credit, has a decent defense talent-wise, but they're not a juggernaut of a team like the Eagles are. But if you do not block Myles Garrett, you're going to lose the game. Like, your offensive game plan is going to get wrecked by him. He had a 31.5% true pass set win rate. Like, if you leave this guy one-on-one in true pass sets, you're cooked, you're done. They move him all around the defensive formation. Like I said, had that Euro step. Iconic, right? Iconic. Rushing over the center, stood up, moving at the line, just crossed up the center like a basketball player. He has elite athleticism. He's great at pass rushing. A great player. I don't need to beat around the bush. He's number one for me. No questions asked. Dorrance Armstrong, I think he's the definition of a nice edge 2. I'd put him behind Kyle Van Noy, but I think he's the definition of a nice edge 2. He's going to get you 40, 50 pressures a season. Got 50 pressures a game. Get you 8 to 10 sacks. Got a nice kind of array of pass rush moves. Uses them well, and he has to because he's not a great athlete. But as a 2, I like him. Jermaine Johnson, he took a big step in his second year, 56 pressures, 9 sacks, missed most of last year due to injury. Clearly an effective pass rusher, though. I think he's a reliable 1.5 with Will McDonald. I think they're kind of right there together. He might be at the top of edge 2, though. Yeah, let's put him at the top of edge 2. Actually, no, I'm going to leave him there. I think that's fair for both of those guys. Latu. He was the one that also gave me pause in my evaluation of Donovan Ezeraku because he also had a great bag of pass rush moves, lacked a power profile, and wasn't a terrible rookie season, but it definitely wasn't the season I was expecting or hoping for. And of course, the Jared Verse comparison isn't going to help him either, being in the same draft class and it kind of being who do you have as your edge 1, Latu or Verse? I had Latu. I think he was really well rounded with a lot of pass rush moves. And the cross chop in college was his go-to. That's still the case in the NFL. But the lack of power does limit him, I think. And something that I didn't give enough credit to. I didn't give enough credit to Versus power, and I didn't give enough credit to Latu's lack of power, really. And he looked better down the stretch, looked more like the college version of Latu. But, oh man, I know. It's not a great rookie season. I'd probably have him over... I'd have him over Thibodeau. I'd have him over Young. And I'd have him over Walker. Yeah. I think he's an edge 2, realistically. Josh Sweat, I think he is a really underrated pass rusher. Quite a few guys I think are underrated, actually. Considering this guy won a Super Bowl and played a very significant role in winning that Super Bowl. He had 7 pressures and 3 sacks in the Super Bowl. He is quick, uses his speed well, powerful, uses speed to power, plays well through contact, has that rip move when he's kind of rushing around the edge. I think he's really good. I think Josh Sweat is really good. I think he's an edge 1. I'll put him ahead of Chop Robinson. I'd rather have Sweat than Chop Robinson. I think, I'm really high on Robinson's projection this year, guys, especially with a stronger Dolphins defensive line with Kenneth Grant in the middle. I'm going to stick to my guns. I'll put Josh Sweat there. He's an edge 1. He's an edge 1. Bradley Chubb, he's had really good seasons, but he's had a career marred by injuries. He's missed a lot of time, missed the whole of 2024 due to an injury he sustained at the end of 2023. When healthy, he's good for double-digit sacks, but the best ability is availability. So I kind of can't really put him any higher than an edge 2, I don't think. If he's healthy, I think he's a reliable 1.5. So I'm going to keep him at the high end of edge 2, but the health is a concern. Alex Highsmith, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, let me welcome you back in, okay? I think TJ Watt is overrated, only because people think he's elite, not because I don't think he's bad. But I think Alex Highsmith is being underrated. He was 11th in pass rush win rate last year, 17.5%. He loves the ghost move. Him and TJ Watt are like bit of a literal metaphor, but they're like 2 ghosts off the edge, right? Like they just, if either of them want to be, they will not be touched. And he has 3 moves, which he uses really nicely. He uses the cross chop, which I've explained, kind of that leap into the backfield, cross with one hand, chop with the other hand, ghost move, ducking under the punch, and he's got a good spin move. And he uses those 3 moves really damn well. So it's not one-dimensional. He is athletic, but he has a strong bag of pass rush moves. He is really good. I think he's really good and really effective. I think he is in his own right an edge 1 at this point. I'll put him there. I think I'd have Highsmith over Josh Sweat, I think. Maybe not. I'd have Josh Sweat over Alex Highsmith. But I think Highsmith is a 1. And I think he's not getting the credit he deserves because everyone is so enamored by TJ Watt. Montez Sweat was really good in 2023, 64 pressures, 16 sacks, got traded mid-season from the Commanders to the Bears and had a really good year that year. But 2024 wasn't quite as good, wasn't quite as productive. Only 49 pressures, 6 sacks, 14.7% pass rush win rate. Worth the second round trade value, but probably not quite worth the price tag the Bears are paying him. But I think he's fine. I think he's good. I will have him ahead of Will McDonald. I'd have him ahead of Zarius Smith. I think that's fair for Montez Sweat. I think Mac with the age, give me Sweat. Josh Hines-Allen, he is a power rusher. He loves a bull rush, loves running through the offensive tackles. He's also surprisingly good with that cross-chop move as well. 16% pass rush win rate, that was 15th, goes up to 20% on true pass sets. He is better than Walker and has better PR, even though he was drafted with the 7th overall pick. You know, it goes to show how just your draft pick can follow you and haunt you, really, in your career. It just doesn't come with the same expectations. But he was 15th in pressures at 63. Decent pairing with Walker, who, as I said, is not a bad player at all. He's in that edge too. I think Hines Allen is a reliable 1.5. A top end of it, though. Top end of it, I would say. I like that. Yeah, I think he's a top end of the 1.5s. Nick Bosa. He is so good with his hands. So good at his hands. He has that kind of like forklift, like I was talking about with Will Anderson, that ability to just like kind of get under the arms of the offensive tackle and kind of control them from there, get the elbows and control the weight. He can drive them back. He can move them to the side. His two-handed swipe, literally just that kind of moving them with their hands, is just absolutely fantastic. Gets them with the speed off the edge too. Stats speak for themselves with Nick Bosa. 4th in pass rush win rate, 20%. 3rd in true pass set win rate, 30% in 2024. And statistically, that was kind of a down year because he missed a lot of time. And the last 4 years, 66 sacks, 377 pressures. That's almost 100 pressures every season. He's undoubtedly elite. And I think he is definitely... It's a question of... I think I'd rather have Parsons now. But I think he's undoubtedly... I think these top 4 guys, Garrett, Hutchinson, Parsons, and Bosa, I don't think you can have any other 4. I don't think you can have any other 4. I know Raiders fans will say Max Crosby. I know Steelers fans will say TJ Watt. But I think most of us will be in agreement about that top 4. James Pierce Jr. I loved him. He was 12th on my board. He's explosive, great hands, strong against the run. Despite the weight concerns, he punches well above his weight. 22.2% pass rush win rate. I think he's going to be really impactful for the Falcons as a kind of specialist-ish pass rusher. And I think he'll kind of be a little bit like a Will McDonald. So I'll put him ahead of Will McDonald. Hassan Reddick, had that odd season with the Jets this year with the holdout. Only a 7.6% pass rush win rate, but he was never really in the kind of mode with that team at all. That was a bit of a disastrous signing and a disastrous year for the Jets. Now at the Bucks, obviously, I'm sure he's going to bounce back. I'm sure he'll be in that kind of 14 to 15 range. I think he's probably also a reliable 1.5. Wouldn't you say? Probably have him ahead of Ezeraku. I think Max is more well-rounded even at this point, so I'll stick with Mac. Boye Mafe, he is a classic case of a one-dimensional pass rusher who is good at one thing and one thing only, which is speed. But as a result, can just be predicted and countered really easily. He doesn't have anything else that can work off speed. Doesn't threaten with the inside move. So he's a complementary rusher and nothing more really. All of these guys I'd rather have over him, honestly. Oladejo Oluwafemi, the rookie for the Titans, a converted linebacker to edge. I think there's a lot of promise to this guy, still very raw. He's got a good cross-chop move. He's strong versus the run. I think he plays with a bit of a high pad level, which he needs to fix in the NFL. But I think in a weak pass rush room for the Titans, I think he's going to play. But I think he's probably a rotational guy. God, that Titans room, man. They got, 2 rotational guys? Ugly. Joey Bosa was elite in 2017 to 2020, but just he can't stay healthy. The Bills are going to use him as a rotational guy. He's better than that, but that's because they want to keep him healthy and keep him basically on ice until the playoffs when they really need him to kind of just get loose, which is why they have Jackson, which is why they have AJ Epinesa, all these other guys that you can see for the Bills. And is there one more? Yeah, and Greg Rousseau I'll talk about later. But again, the availability is questionable. So I think despite him at his peak, he'd be an edge 1. He's going to be used as a rotational guy. I think he's just going to have to be in the reliable 1.5s, I think. But it's where you put him. It's hard with Bosa, man, because talent-wise, he's so much better. Let's just chuck him in the middle because, again, I think he would be an edge 1 if he's healthy and will be used like a rotational guy, so we kind of got to meet somewhere in the middle there. Byron Young, like Maffei, again, one-dimensional. He just overuses power, basically. He's decent in LA with Jared Verse and others along that defensive line, but I think that he, like the kind of Broncos guys, is just a cog in the defense, really. So I think he's going to be an edge 2 for me. But it's where do I put him? He's better than Chase Young. Is he better than Trayvon Walker? I think we'll leave him there. I think that's fair for Byron Young. I think that's fair. Jalix Hunt bullied Joe Tooney in the Super Bowl. Him and Smith are the new edges in Philly. You kind of like what you're seeing there. Limited playing time, but definitely got a nice potential. I think he probably will be. I'll put him and Smith like next to each other. Basically, I think that's what is fairest. I would be interested to see what the Eagles' edge rushers are like. Obviously, they got the beast in the middle there, so they don't need anything off the edge. Andrew Van Ginkel, he is a perfect fit for Brian Flores' system. 50 pressures, 13 sacks. So we'll chuck him at the end of reliable 1.5, just because I think in any other system he would be more like an edge 2, but he is really good for Flores in that system, so I think we're going to stick him in there. Nick Scouton, he had an amazing 2023 season with Purdue, went to A&M, fell off a cliff, basically. I'm banking on the Purdue version of Nick Scouton over what we saw from the A&M version. So I am also going to hedge my bets a bit here, and I'll put him at the end of 1.5. But I think he will be a pretty decent pass rusher for the Panthers this year as a rookie. Jadeveon Clowney, one of the best college players of all time. The helmet flies off. Been disappointing in the league relative, again, to that first overall draft pick position. I think he's fine as a rotational guy, or maybe an edge 2. Probably ahead of Princey Emmanuel. Yeah, I think that's fair for Jadeveon Clowney. Now, Braden Swinson, he was my 46th ranked player. I loved him. I loved that his production, 60 pressures, 32.6% pass rush win rate versus true pass sets. That was 6th. He's a great power rusher. As we know, that has a strong translation to the NFL. He's explosive. I think he's going to start for the Patriots, even though they have, Howard Landry. I think he is going to be like Nick Scouton and be a reliable, I have him ahead of Nick Scouton. I think he's going to be a reliable 1.5. For the Patriots. Will be maybe their most productive pass rusher, but he's better suited to probably being a 1.5. Greg Rousseau, he is underrated. 70 pressures, 11 sacks, 14.6% pass rush win rate. He's good against the run and the pass. Primary pass rusher for the Bills, who, as I said, has a big stable of pass rush moves. He is the biggest part of the puzzle as a pass rusher in Buffalo, and I think he is a reliable 1.5. And I think I'd rather have him. Yeah, I think Greg Rousseau is really good. Last 2 guys, Micah Williams. I was not as high on Williams as other people were. I think he's got high upside. He's got great physical traits. He's great in run defense, but he's a developing guy. He's kind of, again, a bit like Jalen Walker, kind of banking on traits over production there. He's very versatile, so he was lined up, all along the Georgia defensive line. I think for the 49ers with Nick Bosa, he will be a high-end edge 2, I reckon, for this season. I think he's got a lot. He kind of could be a bit like a a bit like a Trayvon Walker. So I'll leave him at the high end of edge 2 because he could be a lot better than that, but I am worried about Micah Williams. And finally, Brian Burns. He's another speed rusher, inside combo, a bit like Micah Parsons, that classic kind of threat with speed on the outside, cut on the inside. He's a really effective 1.5. I just don't think he's a dominant edge 1. But then I'd rather have Brian Burns than Mike Green. So I think by my own list, I have to have him at the end of edge 1. Now, looking at that, right, the Giants' defensive line stands out. They got 3 guys, Carter, Burns, and Thibodeau, and that's not even including Sexy Dexy in the middle. So the Giants' defensive line is looking really good. Jets' defensive line is looking good. The Broncos' defensive line is looking good. The Lions, man, just give Hutchinson someone just to clean up the sacks that he's going to produce. But these are my top guys. I think a top 10 of Garrett, Hutchinson, Parsons, Bosa, Crosby, Grenard as the 6, TJ Watt as the 7, Will Anderson as the 8, Carter as the 9, Hendrickson as the 10. Yeah, I like that. And look, projection with Abdul Carter there, don't get me wrong, but I like that. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. But let me know what you think. Do you agree or disagree with anything I've said? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already for more off-season content. But I've been your host, Dom Corbs. This has been Corbs NFL. I'll see you in the next video.